everyone, it's Allison, stlprostretch.com, and today's video is about the piriformis. The piriformis is a muscle in your hip. It is an abductor, which means it takes your leg away from the midline of the body, but it also externally rotates the leg. And actually, I can feel my piriformis working, along with the other deep six, they call the deep six rotators of the hip. The gemellus, superior, inferior, and then the obturators. And there's one more, I think the quadratus something. Anyway, the piriformis is the one that usually people end up having problems with if there's some sort of pattern dysfunctional movement that you're having, or that your glute maximus just isn't doing its job. So we do a lot of sitting, right? And when you're sitting, your glute maximus is being stretched because it's, your glute maximus does hip extension and a little bit of rotation of the thigh, but mostly extension, right? And well, both. But when you're sitting, the glute maximus isn't doing any of that. So a lot of times what happens is because we're in sitting and the hip flexor is shortened, then we develop this short hip flexor, which can include both the iliopsoas and the rectus femoris. They're both hip flexors. They get shortened, and then the glute maximus it's like reciprocal inhibition isn't happening. So the glute maximus isn't doing its job. Therefore, the deep six external rotators are forced to try to correct the problem and do the job of the glute maximus for it. And it doesn't always work out that well. So I would say start working on glute maximus, actively squeezing the glute maximus when you're doing glute bridges. I'll show you a little bit of a routine later. Also stretching hip flexor, stretching the center of the quad, building strength in the hamstrings, but also basic problem solving, abductors, balancing muscle, or antagonist would be your inner thigh. So if you do a lot of yoga and you're sitting around like this, stretching out your inner thigh a lot, well, guess what's shortening? It's going to be your abductors. So the abductors are stuck in this shortened position, and the adductors are getting way overstretched. So when we're doing things like running and walking, and maybe these adductors are not kicking in, and the external rotators are just so tight, and then we go into this stretch pigeon, and we're like, oh, we'll just stretch it. Well, the piriformis might not be really that happy with being shortened for a long period of time, and then just all of a sudden, oh, we're going to stretch it passively. So always stretch it with resistance stretching. Now, if you're experiencing a lot of deep pain in your piriformis muscle, you might want to go see your doctor. I am not a doctor, so physical therapy can help a lot. But some of you may have already tried physical therapy and you're just not getting any results, and you're still frustrated because you have this big pain in the butt. So I would start by actually working the glutes. Here we're going to do the exercise that I like to do when I have people that have the piriformis problem. I'm going to lay on my back, and this is going to be, we're going to do 3 sets. So hands by your hips. Lift your hips up. Try to pull your belly in and your tailbone under. Squeeze your glutes on the way up. Try to keep your knees from going out to the side at the same time. So those adductors are holding everything steady. Lift and lower. Squeeze and lower. Go up to 10. I'm going to do 10 because I want you to do them with me. Squeezing each time and keeping those inner thighs engaged. You also, sometimes if you kind of think about the back of your hamstrings, doing the lifting too, you can get that pelvic tilt that I'm looking for with the tailbone under and the belly in. And then the 10th one, we're going to hold it for 10 counts. Squeeze 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then release. And then we'll do it again. This is turning into a Jane Fonda video.
And it's funny because, Jane Fonda had a lot of hip glute exercises in her old videos. And then we kind of went through this period where all the exercise experts were saying, oh, well, all these, doing all these butt exercises and the thigh master and all that stuff and these little muscles doesn't burn calories, so people stop doing them. This is the 10th one, so we're going to hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then we're going to go through one more round. I'm starting to feel my glute maximus is getting a little bit tired. And that's what we want. We want to activate it so that when we're doing our day-to-day activities, that this glute maximus is doing its job, and the external rotators, such as the Piriformis, don't have to kick into high gear to do that work for it. We're at 7, but anyway, going back to the exercise, so they kept saying, oh, well, you need to do compound exercises, squats, and all this stuff. Well, that's all great if your form is good, but now they're kind of coming back to the Jane Fonda exercises as a correctional exercise therapy. I'm holding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so hopefully, if you have an overactive piriformis, you may have felt your piriformis is not too happy with that one. Another thing that I would like to address with this is that you don't want to stretch your piriformis in a passive way. You can resistance stretch it, but please do it gently and do not go into excessive range of motion if your piriformis is unhappy with you right now. Just take it easy. It's most important to stretch the hip flexors, the adductors, strengthening them. And then next we're going to go into, this is going to work the piriformis a bit, and your external rotators for your glute maximus as well. I am going to bring my husband in here for a minute to help me, but first I'm going to demonstrate how you can do it on your own. The only part of this I don't like that you doing it on your own is that you can't brace yourself as well as the assisted exercise. So I'm going to lay on my side, and I'm going to bring my knees up. I'm going to lift the top leg. I have a 90-degree bend, just about. It's a little bit less than 90 degree in my hip and 90 degree or less in my knees. And I'm going to lift the top leg, lifting with my ankle and my knee. That is the strength. I'm going to push down with my hands to slow that movement down. And I can feel those external rotators, such as the piriformis, working to do this action, along with the others, little glute medius as well. And then I'm going to lift, and I'm going to keep lifting up, and I'm going to push down with my hand. But see, I start to roll forward. I'm kind of losing my leverage. So this is where, if you have somebody to help you stretch this muscle, this is a really, really great way to resistance stretch it. It won't feel like a stretch. It's going to feel like a strength exercise, a resistance exercise. But that's what your piriformis needs right now. It needs to be combed out. It needs to reconnect to the sacrum. It needs to be like, okay, I'm all intact, and I can work, and I can actually get longer while I'm contracting against a force. So here we go. We're going to bring Chris in here, and he is going to kneel. You can use the pillow for your knee if you want to. You're going to bring your you're going to bring your foot a little bit outside of mine. So come closer. Come closer. Yep. And be easy on me. Okay, so you're going to put your hand on my knee and your other hand on my ankle. And I'm going to lift both of them evenly, and then you're just going to let it go down. Okay? So I'm going to strength first. You're pushing down a little bit. You're going to, yeah. And then release. I have to tell you, if you feel this in the bottom hip, then you need to start with that hip and do that one first. So I'm going to keep lifting up. He's going to keep pushing down, and there you go. It's really easy for you, isn't it?
because you just push your body weight. And I'm really feeling those muscles working a lot right now. Whew. We're going to do a couple more. I'm not going to lie. My piriformis is, well, all my external rotators are burning right now, and my glute maximus too. Okay, and then I'm going to do a little twisty at the end that you can try on your own. You're going to push me down, right? You're going to let go with this hand. Just push with yep. And I'm going to turn it, and he's going to stretch it out like that. And that's your stretch. That's your reward. And that's it. That's it. So that was kind of like dessert. He was pushing my ankle, and I was just kind of rotating like that to stretch it out. And then, thank you. And then we move on to the adductors. So the adductor stretch we have done before in the other videos. You can do out, pulling the legs together, pushing open with the hands at the same time, out and in. And at this point, you know, if your piriformis was jamming up when we get out to the edge, after you do the stretch we just did, you probably don't feel that as much, and that's what you want. You want to, you know, get that piriformis so that it's able to fold and also get longer without feeling jammed up or cranky. So yeah, I would do the piriformis or the stretch we just did first. You can do it by yourself. It's just a lot easier if you have a helper. And then we're going to do the other adductor stretch. This is the one where I put my socks on, and I said if you have carpet, you can use furniture gliders, work really well. They actually make gliders, overpriced gliders. But if you have hardwood floors or tile, you can just use your socks. And then we're going to open and close. I only did one side of my glute. Now I feel like I need to do the other side. But you can do both. And just really get these inner thighs stretched and strengthened. And then we'll address the other problem solving that you'll need to be doing, and that would be the hip flexors and the central hamstring. So I would say, with my clients, I would say 70 to 80% of the time, the piriformis problem is being caused by tight quad, tight hip flexor. It's just causing the hip to tip forward just enough so that these muscles in the back are like, can we yank it so that it's back? And then your leg starts turning out. And this is also another thing to be thinking about when you're moving, when you're sitting, when you're standing. Am I turning my one leg out to the side? Am I standing like this a lot? Am I sitting like this a lot? When I'm walking, am I turning a foot out to the side more than the other? So just thinking about your patterns of movement and how you're getting through them when you're running or you're walking or you're cycling. The hip flexor stretch. We've done this before. Probably every video I have the hip flexor stretch in it. So we're going to be on one knee, the other foot forward. Do the opposite of sticking your butt out. Pull the back knee forward, the front foot back, shift forward and back. That contraction is going the entire time. So the back knee, imagine that pulling up toward your chest the whole time. And then we will switch sides. I'm just doing lengthen and contract all in one motion. So I'm not doing any strength. Strength would be back knee pulling in toward the chest. We're starting here, and we're going to pull the knee in toward the chest to pull us back. But I'm doing them both together, so it kind of feels like my legs are scissoring together. I've got my belly pulled in, my tailbone under, shifting forward and back. And, I think I have a video where I've actually did some rotations where I put the foot in a little bit, pulled my inner thighs together, and then came forward and turned. You can also throw that in there. That's more for the iliacus and psoas. And then we'll go into the quad stretch. You may want to get somebody to mash out your quad a little bit. If you know of somebody that does the Thai massage and they can get in there with their feet a little bit better than a massage therapist on a table can do, that's really, really beneficial. So the next one, I'm going to turn the chair to the side again so you can see what I'm doing, is the quad stretch. Oh, you can do this one or you can do the one on the floor. I'll try to demonstrate both. So I've got one foot up and 1 foot forward. I'm going to come up. I'm already getting a massive stretch in my quad. I'm going to push the foot into the chair to come forward, keep pushing into the chair, and back it up. This would catch your rectus femoris. So that's another one of your hip flexors. I'd like you to spend more time on this, but I want to move on. So let's do the other leg. My leg's telling me I wasn't done yet. So please keep going on that side, and then I'm going to quick demonstrate the other quad stretch on the floor. And then we'll come down to the floor, and I'll do the supine version of this stretch, which is really interesting when we're talking about piriformis, because you may feel the piriformis stretch with this one. So if the piriformis is an external rotator, right, when you're standing, it's an external rotator, then how are you going to stretch it? You've got to internally rotate it, right? So when we do this stretch with 1 foot out to the side, 45-degree angle away, cross the ankle over, push the knee into the ankle, ankle into the knee, rotate in and out. If you have your foot out to the side, 45-degree angle, you just might feel a little bit of a stretch in your piriformis. I know that sounds really odd, but everybody feels this stretch in a different place. It just depends on, where you're tight, really, is what it is. And then I'm going to switch legs. I'm trying to make this quick because I know this is going to be a long video. Push out with the foot, back with the knee so that they are pushing into each other, rotate in and open. If you have a gym that you go to and you have access to those adductor machines where your knees go in and out, that's a really great way to tell if you have an imbalance between the adductors and the abductors. I think when I was having my piriformis issues, even before that, my abductors were much stronger than my adductors. Now I have to say I'm probably the opposite, but I try to keep them even. And if I am in the gym and I'm doing the adductor or abductor machine, and I'm slowly letting them come together because that's my stretch. My muscle is contracting against a force as it's getting longer. Let's see. what else about the piriformis? So we have abductor stretches, right? And then the adductor stretches, your legs come together. And then you have the hip flexor and the central hamstring. Central hamstring, I'm not going to really get into it a whole lot, but there is a whole video on hamstrings. I would also pay a lot of attention to the outer hamstring because the outer hamstring does the external rotation as well. So we're talking about external rotation here. It all kind of ties into the same line. Another thing that you might want to look into is, do you have tightness in the lateral aspect of your calf? That can tell you a lot. I did an experiment with this once. I had the pain in the butt. I had the piriformis pain, and I kind of felt that my calf was tight. Went to the massage therapist, told him just to work on my calf. I did not want him to work on my piriformis, which he could do, actually. Just like a fist to my butt and turn. Well, he worked on my calf. I left, piriformis pain gone. So it's the whole line. You should think about that, the whole fascia line, like where do you carry tightness, but also the hip flexor and the glutes. Do those glute exercises. They can help you a lot. And the central hamstring as well. And then if you can get on that foam roller, or if you can do some trigger point release, maybe I'll have to do a video on that for some of the hip flexor muscles and the glute medius minimus area, TFL, and all that stuff. That might help you a lot. I know it's a frustrating problem to have, this piriformis, but don't blame the piriformis. It's not the bad guy. It's other underactive muscles or pattern of movement that just are not healthy that's causing the piriformis to be overworked. And I try to take care of my piriformis and not overstretch it. That seems to be key for me in keeping that piriformis pain away. So I hope that helps you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. And maybe we'll have another discussion on problem solving some other muscle groups. Anyway, have a great day. Happy stretching. Bye-bye.